always like the third Saturday. But I'm not doing that because I can't do that. But it's always 6. So, but, yeah, audacity. Yeah, I did what I need to do. I recorded the stuff for Steve already, my friend with the record company, but now I have to go back and record the stuff for the podcast too. So.
Yeah, it's useful. Useful stuff.
It really can get you that inch in a mile.
Oh yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, what
Okay.
I like is they
Good.
throw so much in there. It's like I'm only
yeah.
using like this much of it.
We're good to go.
All right, we are ready to go. I'd like to thank everyone who's here. I know that it rained most of the day, and I think that's why a few people aren't here. But I'm glad to see everyone. I'm lucky again this evening that we have some performers from out of town, which is something we're going to keep trying to do. We also have Mac, who is a new OAC resident, who's going to do a presentation that combines both some poetry and some music, and so that'll be pretty interesting. And so I'm not gonna talk too much because we've already been here a little while, and I'm just gonna welcome up this next gentleman who has published a number of books in the last year and a half or so. So many that I can't really tell you the names of all of them, but he has, needless to say, he's become an integral part of the poetry community nationally. He was here in July, and we're lucky to have him back here again, and that's Mr. Tim Heerdink. Tim.
Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Tony and I are very excited to come from Indiana to be back here in Bell, Missouri, and share our words with you. So today is our official release date for our book, Tabletop Anxieties and Sweet Decay. Tony Brewer and I, thank you. Tony Brewer and I got a hold of Timothy Tarkelly. You all know him. He's a wonderful dude, and he put out this wonderful work, and so we're excited to share it. I'll get started with the title poem from my section. It's called Tabletop Anxieties. In case we haven't met, I'm Tim Heerdink, the poet. When it comes to addiction, perhaps board games is how I get my fix. My walls are lined with cardboard creations, each a new world for me to explore. My walls are lined, yes, that's what I read. I'd love for you to travel with me as I enter another realm, but please, no food at the table, and be sure to wash your hands. My head clock gets stuck without any hands to spin when cheesy snacks pulled from backpacks enter the sacred space. Don't you dare touch those pieces nor throw them across the room. I think I'm having a heart attack. You can leave now. I'm changing the locks and I'm taking this next ride solo. So, a number of my poems in my section of this book kind of have to deal with eating at restaurants or being at a tabletop. That's why it's anxieties with the tabletop. I do love board games. I just was really obsessed with writing when I was eating food. This one is called Take My Heart, Give Me a Fork. When I map my stars across this great land, may it be for business or leisure, I find myself listening to the growl my gut makes when it remembers food is all that matters when you're out. That bastard will cause you to drive all day just to fill a void with deep-fried awesome and leave you feeling used and tired all over without any sliver of gratitude or shame. My stomach wants only the best spots your town has for this bearded face. It's willing to spew out a couple of poems in exchange for a finger in the right direction. We don't need no 5-star suit required joint, but a hole in the wall you won't find advertised because it's well loved by satisfied locals daily. A place you can go with a waitress Betty who works doubles to feed her kids. A single mom who doesn't need a pen to remember what makes you smile. This one's called More Harm Than Good. Sitting across from my sayer of I do, chomping on fried mozzarella dipped in house-made ranch with a side of brew, my arm felt intense as she tightly gripped after a commotion erupted from across the room. "Oh no," she gasped, smacking me into attention for what I feared must be an attack on us patrons. Head jerk and a snap like I'd just been slapped. I saw no gunman aiming crosshairs at our chests, but a young busboy having an epileptic episode as co-workers gathered his head from being cracked, and they meant well, trying their absolute best, but that's not the proper way to handle those. See, it's hard to hear the bashing of a man's skull against the cold and unforgiving solid restaurant floor, but you can't just jump on a dude and grab hold for doing what only will hurt even more. "Put him on his side," a dormant nurse yelled, now alert. In no time, the seizing stopped, and things returned to normal, but I couldn't shake how some servers felt it appropriate to laugh while this guy's night turned suddenly horrible. I wanted to stand up and ask, "What's so goddamn funny?" I, too, have suffered from seizures in the distant past, and I can relate to his wishes to decline the ambulance, sitting near the entrance with a desire to get back to work. It wouldn't be so bad if more people helped instead of hurt. And this is the final one I'll read from this book for now, but on the way here, Tony and I went to Hoffer House in Belleville, Illinois, and we just love that place. And this is the poem I wrote from when we went through here in July. We got the big old grown man beer, big old liter, and it was nice. So we're all full from that right now. But this one's called Beer Hall Rule. Catching a breath and a brew with brewer after a stretch of poetic rendezvous in a state earning its name Misery. Hoffer House welcomes us after 5. Sitting in a majestic hall where many of drink found their glorious end, I asked my tour mate, "Half liter or whole?" "That's an awful lot," he says with uncertainty. Often the great place of Munich, the rule to this day remains, if you're going to be in this hall after 5 when the day draws long, you better get yourself a grown man beer. So we clink, drink, sink, and think till forces call us to come home. And by the way, I do love Missouri. This was a fun time. It was just really hot that weekend. There you go, yeah. I'll read a couple from my space book if y'all are into the science fiction. This one's called Ganymede. There's a moon light years from here, a part of Jupiter's isolated crew that puts out FM frequency with its magnetic field. Of course, the scientists throw their disclaimer up front that this is not extraterrestrial, leaving wanted believers in a state of frustration and asking for their latent facts. In many sci-fi cinematic adventures, Jupiter's moons continue to exist as second chances for a species seeking shelter from the home it selfishly wrecked over generations. Radio waves as part of the natural function of the planet conjures images, a life form taking a breath. And this one is called Panspermia Paradox, with the epigraph of, "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return," from the Ash Wednesday saying from Ecclesiastes 3:20. Take in all the grand display of shattered rock dispersed through our scattered universe as you peer into the massive midnight sky. Ancestors wink a twinkling white iris between the Sirius and the sun's great reflector, signaling a point of origin for mankind. These belts interspersed between gaseous planets contain roids that carry delicate microfibers aiming to secure a habitable new beginning. Maybe heaven in this inevitable return, our energy flows with bits of our broken dust toward when flesh falls down to earth once more. Okay, So yeah, I used to be labeled the Holocaust guy. I do have some poems for my books. They're not totally strictly on the Holocaust, but they're in that fashion. This one is from Raised Monuments, and it's called Toleration. I asked a young boy while on tour as he joyfully passed my table of books if supporting candles with the purchase of my first collection to spread Holocaust knowledge gave him any interest. Confused and a bit disturbed, the boy turned to his father asking what in the world I was talking about. By the tween age, images of the event never reached this child. It is becoming common for reads like Night and the Diary of a Young Girl to be optional or not offered at all, since many parents are claiming their children may feel uncomfortable. If we can't tolerate feeling uncomfortable, what will happen when someone makes us upset? What if they are different? Shall we rid them as well? And I took a trip, kind of a little reminiscent, drinking a nice German beer earlier. When I went to Munich, I had Hofbrauhaus there too. But when you go through the different streets, you can find little monuments and reminders of what happened during the time during World War II. And this one is called Golden Path of the Resistant. Taking a late afternoon walk along the Viscarda Gasse in Munich, Bavaria's loving heart transfers feet and mind back to a time where Nazis ruled. You can look down, see the stones paved with gold. It's subtle, such as the way of resistance. A monument for the lives lost from Hitler's failed attempt to seize the city during the 1923 beer hall putsch, guarded by soldiers who forced pedestrians to salute one arm diagonal in honor of the Fuhrer. Those who did not obey found themselves inside the walls of Dachau. After enough arrests, a new path to detour the threat allowed citizens against the regime safe passage to work. Breaking the law does not speak of ethics. As I reach the end of the street and return to the present, I can't help but feel a change in my direction. So this is my first full-length collection, The Human Remains, and I have another full-length coming out from Cajun Mutt Press in December called Soliloquy and Trauma and Not So Well. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, 57. This one's called Hear No Evil. It has been heard that if I'd be deaf, I'd greet death with a force which would take my breath. Fantastic tones now leave me alone, and my melancholic bones whimper in the winter, because all I do is wither without the sound of a whisper. One could figure the demon-eating inside just beneath my epidermis would surface upon the touch vibrations give as they brush and fuck everything up. Twist my drum until the screaming is none, the succubus as one staring at the deadly sight of a gun. Innocence lost with the cost paid when I'm laid to rest. Between birth and death lies a test. Sight can't save me nor give me the correct answers. A lack of self-preservation, the invisible condition, is hard to rid, like cancer. Half a year passed, and the fact lingers. It stenched too much to bear. But face to face, I stare at it. Stop hearing. Begin to listen. It can make all the difference. Us as ghosts as we're entering the spooky season. And my new collection's really spooky. I dreamt last evening that the invisible monsters who hide within our withered walls stole the energy that makes us tick right from underneath our souls. A whole family unit stationed on the top of a dead-end court, moving the next residence's belongings because what else is there to do? A clock with no hands is a spirit's tormentor. Sometimes when I am alone in my corner of the plot, I traverse through the tilted tunnel to stare at those on the outside. Never quite seen except in glimpses, my noise is just necessary to others so they know I'm alive. Okay. This one is called Listen to Your Loved Ones Crackle. Very fun. Oh, what a time it is to live and die. Just last morning, a flash of an article brought strange news never to be forgotten as such other atrocities go in history. Don't know what to do with your remains? No need to worry. Rest forever within the groovy space of vinyl. And for the record, the sound quality may be horrific, but that's all part of the fun. Right. A teaspoon here, another touch there, and now you're gold. What words or music could be important enough for my ashes to play? Generations to come will either store the disc in the basement or an attic where surely ruin shall follow, or give it a spin and complain that MP3 simply would be much better. Alright, this one's called Do Not Close the Door Where the Key Hangs. Do not close the door where the key hangs. Escape from the mundane is impossible. Open it and see the human remains. Life is a compilation of refrains, bringing you back to the doctors at hospitals. Don't close the door where the key hangs. Though some days may seem strange, and your mind is saying this is unwatchable, open it and see the human remains. Robotic individuals can be changed when a friend's heart is unstoppable. Do not close the door where the key hangs. Walls are meant to divide these brains so the corrupt ones can be more powerful. Open it and see the human remains. No number of lies can wash the bloody stains or cause you to do the improbable. Do not close the door where the key hangs. Open it and see the human remains. I just have a couple more. I'm going to read one off of my first book. Bezell was a really good Holocaust survivor, and he passed away a couple of months after I sent him this letter with his poems, but I'm glad I got to correspond with him. He got a letter in the back of the book from him. But yeah, these people, they kind of pushed me to write and to tell their stories and everything. And this one's called When Bezell Came Back from Auschwitz, He Came Back as a Bird. He came back as a bird whose mother's daughter was slaughtered along with her and the remainder thrown in the gas chamber. He came back as a black crow, black from the smoke that choked those stuck in the cage just east of Germany. He came back as a pigeon, no longer with the fat that was taken away from far few rations and molded still hated. He came back as a finch, and although the stench of death and decay would be hard to wash away, he had hope for better days. He came back as a dove, having learned to rise above the hatred and discrimination. He became a symbol of peace for every nation. He came back as a phoenix, for although his soul had turned to ash, he came back again and again with a renewed will to live. Just a couple more. I won't drag y'all on. I know we're moving on, but I have some new ones from the Soliloquy and Trauma and the Not So Well book that will be out in December from Cajun Mutt Press. So, something to look forward to. But today is all in celebration of tabletop anxieties and sweet decay. Available now from me and Tony Brewer. This one's called What's Left Over from a Haunting. Enter the shell which you used to call home long before you held your baby girl. After the city forced a relocation and attempt at a new beginning. This structure, walls where love lived, while another force sat dormant at the end of your bed, watching sleeping occupants as breath came and went. For half a decade, the belief that residual apparitions after an intervention of biblical measure found peace like troubled children when the tired parent finally notices they've gone missing. A 12 gauge meant to claim an entire family, but only took the father who forgot his first rule of self-preservation still resides upstairs, along with the man who knocks constantly on the plaster. He's waiting for his loved ones to come home. This one is the featured poem at Cajun Mutt Press for Halloweens. So out of 31 days, the most important day belongs to me. That's awesome. This one's called Cass Wonderland, and it's for my friend Jacob Snyder, aka Cass One, a rapper in Evansville. In the depths of my wishing well lies a new monster who wears a mask made from the flesh of a friend known famously strange as both the wolf and the rabbit. A Mad Hatter, a Cass One from another dimension where everything is nothing and unlike the truth. Look into the fake Jake's eyes. They appear as to flash hues, yet to be created in the place called home. Of all the hip-hopsters alive, why must this talent make cameos and the most peculiar interludes sandwiched between one cranial quadrant and the precious stem which creates those random artistic projections? These moments see no chemical H collaboration, nor do they offer revelations about the future, premonitions to help stop catastrophe from entering into our temporary existence. Instead of miniature cups of tea, this imposter downs whiskeys and smacks the many asses his female entourage offer him before departing to give us privacy. Killer egos make their presence known with each laugh as he points to his golden record hanging on a wall. The game spoils. Before telling me I've been home all along, Cass peels back that seam from underneath the hat, towering carefully atop his grand caricature-sized head, and shows me while I stumble on a painted blonde disguised as an ottoman with the finest details present on her arch of her back, that the only real monsters there are in this world are the ones hiding within. And finally, we'll end with what I feel is my pinnacle poem of the book, The Not So Well. And the whole book for this full length is dealing with nightmare sequences and abnormal mental health. And the not so well is where I reside sometimes. There was a time when I stood guard like one of those Brits in their furry hats without any emotion, just doing my duty as a good gentleman should, never looking elsewhere but straight ahead of me. The cruelest taunts always failed to break my gaze with posture not unlike the great rustic cross which held the alleged Messiah long before this time. One afternoon while busy at work, a storm cloud blew. It pushed me into the not-so-well, where the not-so-well often dwell. I thought I knew all the tricks on how to escape, but it seems that I may have been in this place for longer than I think. All around me there are weeping shadows, endless rain, no hope to make the climb. It's much too steep for me at this most experienced climber of which I thought I was. The well fills, and it fills with the tears of the crying and undying sorrow. Another man down in the well asked me, "Don't you know you did this to yourself?" Like my hands held the shovel that dug this hole, we both find ourselves. That's when my mind went blank for a brief period. I came to. With the man lying on the bottom, I noticed that I am still digging the hole. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, like, these two gentlemen, they've been talking about this book, but it is not only, like, supporting them if you pick up this book, it's supporting our friend Tim Torkelly, who's a member of this community. Tim's a great guy, both Tims. And, cool. Thank you, Tim.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having us.
Since we are live streaming to YouTube, I'm going to just let people know where we are. We are in Barb's Books in Bell, Missouri, which is property of Osage Arts Community, but also operated under the auspices of the Friends of Bell Library as well. And I'm grateful to both organizations that we can have this reading. And so that's just to segue into the fact that our next reader and presenter is the newest OAC resident. And I got to meet him in July when we had a reading here. And he's going to do a combination of music and poetry. He's the author of a book called Fate of a Mullet. And that book is on the table as well. And I'd just like to welcome Mac Thorne. Mac.
Thanks, John. Thanks for everybody coming out. Thanks to OAC. Thanks to Jason for providing beer for us. Just give me just 1 second. I'm just going to do a slight adjusting and turning on of buttons.
Jason will never let us go dry.
No.
God love him.
God love him. All right. If it gets too loud, just put your hands over your ears and scream. So it'll go with the music.
Well, we tested it earlier. It wasn't that loud.
It's not gonna be that. So I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do one accompaniment piece, and then I'm gonna do just some regular poetry stuff, and then I'm gonna finish it out with another one. So two of the pieces that I'm doing these renditions of are from Fate of a Mullet, and this first one is called. Let's do Icarus first. Icarus is based off of a piece. It's based off of a newspaper article and also a story heard through word of mouth. Let's see if I got this right. Murder in August upon a roof in midday. Pushed beyond what the body can bear, the mind is washed away like creek clay. Look over the row house skyline in absent state. Cackling hyenas bister and bicker over a rotting carcass. Dare Miguel to kill and hand the electric blade. Quite sure he lacks the will, but to the surprise of the sweat-drenched crew, Miguel's day was made. Each ripple in tongue, lap at the neck like reunited lovers. The gutters do what they were made to do. Wide eyes, shock and awe. Screams and laughter muzzled by the buzz of a circular saw. If anything in this world is fair, it's a dare. Is a dare. Is a dare. Thanks. Alright, so we're going to slow down, so calm down. Relax. Alright, so a lot of these things are from new stuff, pretty recent stuff that I've written, which I was really looking forward to reading here because I've written a lot of these things here that I'm about to read. So part of that problem is that a lot of these, they do have titles, but I did not put title on the pieces of paper. So you're just going to have to kind of come up with your own title. You give life like the Ganges River, poisoned by own hand and rotting flesh. But here at Maggie's Peanut Gallery, entrance is free, but release comes with a price tag. These cold teeth ain't cheap, but neither is being this cool. This white light is so hot, it's melting my sunglasses. Good thing I'm friends with the Texas sun and she owes me a favor or two. When I was a boy, all I knew were wide-wheel cyclones, driving slow, shining like silver-capped teeth. Box Chevy chariots hovering around parking lots and one-way stops. The schoolgirl buzzards wait. Two more stanzas. Close. The first time I seen a Lamborghini, it was bright and clean. No cavities or decay. The man opened his window and said, "You go to school and you have one of these someday." As I wiped bagel bite grease from my face and clutched my rat tail, "That'll be the day," said my fiscal fate. Like I said, not a lot of titles that I remember out of these offhand. So, chicken stock added by the cup, tomato sauce dropped in the pot, rice and beans glimmer in grease, pork chops taste like bluegrass and folk tunes, a memory, a distant place, Inside a kitchen by her side, knee high, tugging at her sleeve for a taste, a hug and a kiss, and something to wipe my face. I was born during the flood of '93, so my folks treated me like I was a curse, the cause of their bad luck. But my grandmother held me close, like a rabbit's foot, a blessing, from a quiet prayer in a lightning storm. I do remember the title of this one. It's called Sundown, or it's Dusk in a Sundown Town. It gets dark so fast now. The bats don't feel the need to flicker against the dust. There's more night to go around, enough sunken moon to chew, and stars consumed through straws. Like a milkshake, we all sit here and enjoy it, taking turns dipping fries into sauce, lamenting in the moments we have before the coming frost and floods to come. Oh, okay, I do remember this one. This one's called Cowboy Poetry. All right. This is actually, I wrote this, well, you might figure out what it's about as I'm writing it. But a lot of things that I write are usually inspired by stories from word of mouth, my own experience, or newspaper articles, and sometimes stuff like that. Cowboys on horseback glide and thunder across the terrain, noble like forefathers, rugged and cold, manifestations of divine will. They cross the ridge line and over the horizon to greet the refugees with whips and the word of God. Corral and rustle poor souls from the shifting sand, nets thrown like fishers of men and Jesus in tow. Their tears were the first rain seen in months. There is no room at the end, my dear Mary. The Savior of man will not be born today nor any time soon. So this is the last, just kind of regular red one, and then I'm gonna do one last one with this. All right. To some, deliverance wasn't just a movie, but a manifesto. The way nature seeks repentance from man and the unjust contract. The sacrifice